Muschamp and Dan Mullen. It was the best of times. It was the worst of times. Not a tale of two cities, but a tale of two kickers.
From 55 yards away, all SEC selection, Elliott Fry.
Snap it back to Kelly. Put it down. Kick it up. Good distance. He's got it. Elliott Fry just kicked a 55-yard field goal. Are you kidding me?
Weston Graves will have this game on his shoulders.
It's off the upright, and it's no good. South Alabama will escape with a victory.
Mullen can't believe it.
And welcome to a very warm night in Starkville, Mississippi, as the Bulldogs play host to the Gamecocks of South Carolina. Good evening, everybody. Mike Patrick, Ed Cunningham. It's great to have you with us. Laura Rutledge will join us shortly. For Mississippi State, last week's opening loss to South Alabama, a 28-point underdog, was just brutal. They cannot afford to start this season 0-2.
And when Dan Mullen came out to practice this week and cut the music, the older guys on the team knew it was about to get real, and it did. Very physical week of practice, and he's looking for a little bit of leadership, so he's going to lean onto some defensive guys. A.J. Jefferson, one of the most disruptive players at the line of scrimmage in the SEC, played well last week, needs to step up more. And the guy that had a little bit of a tough game last week, Richie Brown, had a missed tackle. Not like him. They need to lean on those guys against a South Carolina team, which obviously you're in this league. They're going to run the ball just a little bit.
South Carolina is trying to do something tonight that's very difficult, especially in this league, and that's win 2 games in a row, both of them on the road.
And a different environment. Last week they won at Vanderbilt, not going to be quite as loud as it is here with the Cowbells in Mississippi State. But for Will Muschamp in his first year at South Carolina, it's just kind of the same question he had at Florida. Who's going to be the leading quarterback? Perry Orth, a very polished, good passer, can run a little bit, but they went and got a freshman in Brandon McElwain who can run, but had 1 turnover last week against Vanderbilt, the more explosive of the 2 players.
Laura Rutledge with Coach Dan Mullen.
Thanks, Mike. And Coach, you said the most glaring problem in last week's loss to South Alabama was effort. What's been different about this week to correct that?
Well, we made sure they gave maximum effort. I told all our guys, all I'm watching for is 11 guys going as fast as they can the ball on defense, 11 guys straining every single play on offense. If I don't see that, get off the field. We're not going to let you on that field. Don't let you touch across that line. I'm sure to give everything you got.
Just moments ago, Nick Fitzgerald announces your starting quarterback here in the stadium. So what's your plan for your quarterbacks tonight?
Yeah, we're going to go with Nick. We're going to go with Nick Fitz the whole game tonight.
The whole game, so no Damian.
No, that's what we're going with.
Thank you, Coach. Mike.
Laura, thanks so much. How about that, Ed?
Yeah. Well, at the end of the game last week, it was Damian Williams who was trying to get the win against South Alabama and actually drove the team down into field goal range for a missed field goal at the end. But Nick Fitzgerald, the guy, gives them a little more in the run game. He's a big physical guy. He ran the option in high school. They feel like he's coming along a bit in the throw game, but I think that is a little bit of a shock to people here because Damian Williams was the quarterback who finished the game against South Alabama.
And really, he did his job. He gave them a chance to win.
And again, it was a missed field goal. They did a 2-minute drill, got down 21-20, and hit the upright. And a big upset.
Logan Cook has it teed up at the 35. A.J. Turner is deep. We are underway from Starkville. Out of the end zone. They'll start at the 25-yard line. Perry Orth will start at quarterback out of Ponte Vedra, Florida. Last week at Vanderbilt, modest numbers, 11 of 19 for 152 yards, but they dropped 5. What would they be saying if he was 16 for 19 for 300 yards? In the 4th quarter, he came through 6 out of 7 for 55.
Yeah, new co-offensive coordinator and quarterback coach Kurt Roper, who came back from the NFL to work with Will Muschamp, again, was his coordinator at Florida, said this guy has a really live arm. And watching Orth play, and we will see Brandon McElwain, he is a really polished passer. He feels good in the pocket, can run the ball, athletic. And down the stretch, he played well against Vanderbilt as well. He was 6 of 7 in that key 4th quarter.
His running back is A.J. Turner. And he wants to go deep on the first play, and it's overthrown. intended for Deebo Samuel, who pulled up, had his hand on his hamstring like he may have hurt himself.
And Samuel had a hamstring injury last year that slowed him down the entire season. He was open by 2 steps, and Samuel quit on his route right when he came out of the break. That was open. That was a touchdown post route to Samuel, who pulled up lame with another hamstring injury. Not sure if it's the same one he injured last year. He had trouble with that again in 2015. What a shame for him.
Their best receiver is number 89, Brian Edwards. This is Turner. He'll get about 3. Stopped by Nelson Adams, the nose tackle.
Deebo Samuel would be such a big loss for South Carolina. He's really good with the ball in his hands. He's very good in the red zone. And this, of course, a brand new offense with Will Muschamp taking over after Steve Spurrier stepped down midway through last year. And wants a varied offense with some spread. They need a guy like Samuel to fit in there.
4-man front for Mississippi State. That's what they bring against Dordt. Pressure from behind, and down he goes. Dordt hit by Jonathan Calvin, the Viper linebacker. He beat Mason Zandy, the preseason All-SEC left tackle.
And this is a guy in Jonathan Calvin, that first-year defensive coordinator Peter Sermon, who just came in the spring. He said he's one of our top 5 players. He's extraordinarily gifted. He's great in practice. We need to get it to the field. Well, they just got a lot of productivity out of him early in this one.
Kelly punts to Fred Ross, the 35. Has a little bit of a seam. But it's cut off, and he's taken down at the 45, an 11-yard return after a 46-yard punt.
46-yard kick, 11-yard return.
You heard the coach talking to Laura. It's Nick Fitzgerald, who was the primary backup to Dak Prescott a year ago. Very seldom used, through only 14 passes. Started last week, but struggled after 2 straight 3-and-outs. They went with Damian Williams. They went with Damian Williams most of the second half. Fitzgerald on the option. He's really good on the move. Throws underneath, complete to Fred Ross, who had 6 catches last week.
Well, that's a run-pass option that is so hard to defend. He's a big quarterback who can run. As I mentioned in the open, as they're going very fast here, they slowed the tempo down a bit in the second half against South Alabama and felt like that might have been a mistake.
Fitzgerald swings it to Holloway. The little scat back under 170 pounds, out of bounds inside the 30.
Well, right now you can see what they want to do with Fitzgerald. He's not standing in the pocket. He's an athletic guy who came from an option system in high school. They've got him on the run. The first play was a double read pass with a 1-read run, and he could have taken off. He decided to throw it, and they're moving him around. Very smart plan.
Quarterback keeper Fitzgerald got a first down.
And remember, Dan Mullen has a ton of experience developing quarterbacks who were kind of runners first and then throwers. Tim Tebow obviously comes to mind, but he has done it multiple times, and they think that this guy can turn the corner in the throw game eventually.
Holloway trying to use that speed to get to the outside. Knocked down at the 23. Chris Lamons on the corner.
Chris Lamons having a good start today. He had that tackle on the punt. That was a nice sure tackle in the open field. They needed some type of negative play. They needed some type of slowdown because these guys are getting, it is warm here. You come out with all this adrenaline, and South Carolina has to be a bit tougher.
2nd and 10 out of the pistol formation. Fitzgerald loops one. Some contact there and a flag down. It was intended for Donald Gray, and Lamont was locked up with him.
Holding. Defense, number 3, against an eligible receiver doing a forward pass play. Automatic first down.
I was just mentioning the game that Lamont was having. He's in terrific position, and he's got to let go. He's in great position. There's no reason for him to grab that inside arm. What a bummer, because he had great feet. He got his hands on. He was on balance, everything you would coach. He just needed to let go. He was running stride for stride.
Ashton Shumpert comes in as the running back. Instead, they go on the end around to Keith Mixon, who's got electric speed but they force him to the sideline, and DJ Smith takes him out of bounds.
Well, this is where, for Fitzgerald, a young quarterback, the throw game gets so tight. And this would be a down and distance. You would think about a throw, but it's such a tight area. I think this is going to be some type of quarterback hold run.
High snap, brings it down, gets what he can near the 6.
You know, it's a little conservative, but when you have a quarterback who is, although he was Dak Prescott's backup last year, Prescott, of course, went wire to wire in most games. But you've seen that play with Dan Mullen as the offensive coordinator a bunch of times. Of course, he calls his own plays here at Mississippi State. That looked very similar to something that Tim Tebow used to do. And then later in the game, you can do that pop pass where you run in there and release the tight end and have to just pop it right over the top.
Third down, they can get a first down if they reach the 1-yard line. Fitzgerald with all day to throw, and it is a touchdown to Fred Ross. When you've got that much time, somebody comes open eventually.
Fred Ross, the leading returning receiver in the SEC this season. Look at Fitzgerald's eyes. What a wonderful job. He came, the front side was to the left side. It was not open. His progression brought him right back. Terrific route by a senior we met with yesterday who is, he's a big, powerful guy, runs good routes. Will Muschamp said, I like him. And now we know why when you watch him. But excellent job. Excellent eyes by a young quarterback, too. Got his read, wasn't there, came right back, threw it on time.
He was a running quarterback in high school. Actually, his school ran the triple option. Very difficult to scout a guy who runs the triple option and project him as a college quarterback. Fred Ross with his first touchdown catch of the year, and the Bulldogs jump on top at home. We need more cowbell. Fred Ross is a quiet guy. He's not one of those vocal leaders. He said he should have said something last week when the team didn't have a lot of fire in its belly. He says if it happens this week, he'll say something, but he said something with that play.
Yeah, he prefers to do it with his play, and this is a group that lost. You think about, you lose your quarterback who's now starting for the Cowboys in the NFL, but they also lost Runya Wilson, who left for the NFL early, and Fred Brown, who was dismissed for violating the student conduct code during the offseason. So this is a group that needs a leader, and Fred Ross, certainly a good enough player to be a leader, and knows that he needs to get a little more verbal.
Turner takes a knee. They'll start again to 25. Tomorrow the stadium holds 61,337. And they're pretty close to 60 tonight. Turner, about 4. Let's take a look at tonight's Impact Players, brought to you by Chick-fil-A.
We mentioned during the open on defense for Mississippi State, the key for A.J. Jefferson. He's playing a little bit of end. He'll go inside. He can also walk out and play on his feet. And A.J. Turner, a little bit undersized at 195 pounds, but he is a very explosive inside runner. Great second, third, and fourth step once he sees the hole. Runs with power, good hands. He's clearly the best back for South Carolina, and I think he's got a little something.
Terry Orth, little half roll, and throws complete. Throws behind Jacob August, his third-team tight end. But August made the catch and went down at the 39 for a first down.
And we see a little tempo here from South Carolina.
Orth on the roll, throws behind his tight end Hayden Hurst. He spun around and made the catch. That is not an easy play.
Running full speed. Hayden Hurst, a 23-year-old sophomore, because he was a first-round draft pick of the Pittsburgh Pirates. And it was Perry Orth. Oh, wow, they have to call that. That is targeting when you go down with the helmet, and that was Richie Brown. He's very, very lucky that wasn't called for targeting. Clearly ducked his head. It looked like it could have been a personal foul late. Richie Brown is very lucky that he didn't get the personal foul and potentially targeting. And remember, targeting, yeah. Richie Brown is incredibly lucky. I think at the very least that's a personal foul, and I think it could have been targeting. We'd have to re-review it to take a look at it, but he would be ejected if they called him for targeting. Very lucky he wasn't flagged there.
And somehow everybody missed it. Orth to Turner on the option. And that looks like a play that's going to have to be wide open from Perry Orth to keep it, doesn't it?
Yeah, and you're in that in-between area here if you're South Carolina. If I'm Will Muschamp, I'd be telling my coordinators on offense, hey, you might want to have a fourth down play here ready. Even though your kicker, Elliott Fry, hit a 55-yarder last week, I think if you got into, you're at that line where if it's fourth and inside of 5, I think you might be going for it here.
Mississippi State comes with a blitz. Orth underneath and off Hayden Hurst. I don't think he had his head all the way around before that ball got there. Mark McLaurin was coming on the blitz, number 41.
McLaurin just comes absolutely scot-free. Orth does a nice job of seeing it, get rid of it. Unfortunately, Hayden Hurst didn't have his head around. And I want to give credit for that tackle. That was a nice form tackle, took his head out of it, and just you can still have a physical tackle there without getting your head involved.
Elliott Fry, who hit the game winner from 55 a week ago, and it would have been good from 60.
As good as Mississippi State has been playing up front on the defensive line, the danger here is a low kick. You get any push in the middle, I'd have A.J. Jefferson somewhere in the middle.
Maybe 55 is their lucky number.
I'd be worried about a low one.
Good snap, good hold. The kick is away and just short. It can't be run back because it was caught out of the end zone.
No Iron Bowl here.
No. Well, Fry made a 55-yarder last week. Couldn't connect on this one. Wind was not a factor, and it was just short. 7-0 Mississippi State. Playing well outside.
Spiral.
They're playing well inside, too.
Did you see the spiral, by the way?
That was good.
Got a little spin on it. That would have been good from 53 3/4. And you can't blame the young man. He got plenty of height on it. I'm sure that was something that was said, hey, get some height on the ball. And when you do that, sometimes you're a little under it. He didn't hit it that poorly. The 55-yarder he hit against Vanderbilt would have been good from almost 60. He nailed that one.
Fitzgerald with a handoff, and that's Ashton Shumpert, their big back. He's listed at 218. Coaches say he's more like 230. Was the starter a year ago. Did not hold that job.
Play result in a first down, Bulldogs.
End of the first quarter at Starkville. Dan Mullen knows how important this game is. Will Muschamp trying to win his second straight SEC game on the road. Welcome back to Starkville, where it's 7-0 Mississippi State. They had Dak Prescott making an announcement to the crowd on the Jumbotron. The Mississippi State Athletic Department wanted to recognize his NFL debut tomorrow. There are several billboards around Dallas wishing him good luck in his debut. The last time a Mississippi State alum started an NFL game at quarterback was a guy named Joe Reed of the Detroit Lions back in 1979. Fitzgerald flushed. Room to run. Knocked out of bounds very close to the stick.
He's got some acceleration for a big guy. I can see why, in watching the film last week in the second half, Damian Williams can throw, he can run, he can kind of do everything well. And they always ask, what can someone excel at? Well, with that kind of acceleration around the corner in this league, that's going to be very helpful when there's nothing in the throw game.
Ross goes down, and Jamarcus King, whose reputation is as a solid tackler, came up from the corner and laid a lick on Fred Ross. Nice stop.
You have to give some credit. There is some talent here at South Carolina. Steve Spurrier, the wheels kind of fell off quickly there at the end. They were on a great run of 11-win seasons. So they were stockpiling some talent. This is not an empty program at all. And we were talking to Will Muschamp. who got the job very quickly. He said didn't expect it. He'd taken the job as the defensive coordinator at Auburn. Bought a big house there. It was his third stint at Auburn. He said we were happy there. He got the call, and when he went to South Carolina and saw the program that they had built and put around Steve Spurrier, of course Lou Holtz before him, obviously more than intrigued. He said it was about a 5-day process before they offered and he accepted.
3rd and 8, 5 wide receivers as they spread the field. Thrown underneath to Ross. Makes a move to get the first down. Brought down. Another pass out in the flat. Good gain again, this time to Gray.
Fitzgerald looks like a different guy this week than he did last week. He started 0 for 3, got benched for Damian Williams, who had the hot hand, so they left him in the second half. But he looks comfortable, confident in the throw game. He took most of the reps for the first team this week, but he looks like a different player.
Little swing pass out to Ross. Ross wants to throw the double pass, has a man wide open. It's a touchdown to Donald Gray. Nicely designed and beautifully executed.
Good patience by Fred Ross. He got over there and almost had a second thought here as a defender was right there, but did a good job buying the time and lays out a beautiful pass. That's all the way across the field. Gray, you were talking about Jamarcus King and his reputation. Well, he couldn't quite keep up with Gray.
Helps being left-handed, doesn't it?
Well, if you're getting pressure from the right, yes, exactly. It does. But if you're getting it from the left, not so much.
Perfect pass, floated it for his fellow wide receiver, and Gray pulled it in the end zone. 63-yard drive in 9 plays. Those are the two guys that accounted for the last pass. Ross on the left, we talked to him yesterday. He was the one who said, if we don't come out with a lot of intensity, they want me to be a leader, so I'm going to say something. He hadn't had to say anything. Caught one and threw one. Turner from the goal line. Cut down near the 20.
Pretty good night for Fred Ross. Mentioned all the guys that are gone from this team. He was the guy who had 88 catches last year. And when we were talking to Will Muschamp, they played against Mississippi State last year when Muschamp was at Auburn. He said, no, I know all about Fred Ross there on the left.
And Ross also said after the year he played hurt the entire season. Had groin surgery in the offseason.
And is a doppelganger for Jamie Foxx, which that's never a bad thing.
I like the hair, too.
Well, it's Jamie Foxx playing Odell Beckham Jr. in a movie.
4th in the eye. Gives to Turner. No place to go. Turner cut down for a 2-yard loss.
I watched the second half on purpose again of the loss to South Alabama. And the lack of effort, the lack of popping around, the lack of what you had seen to come to expect from a Dan Mullen team was shocking. And talking to everyone, including the coach, about this week at practice, the intensity level was turned up to 11. And the guys thought it only went to 10, but no, with Dan Mullen it goes to 11. You can see they got the message. This is a whole different level of intensity and effort than they had against South Alabama in the second half last year.
Loose ball. Bulldogs have it. It popped out Jeffrey Simmons. Jonathan Calvin looked like he may have been the one who got it back.
This looked bad from the start, though. I think it was a bad exchange between Orth and Turner. Well, no, Turner had it, was just about to lock it away, and Jeffrey Simmons, the young man that we mentioned who was suspended for the first game of the year, getting his first action, a true freshman, he blows through the middle and knocks that ball away. It looked like it was a bad exchange, but no, that was Simmons making a terrific play and Calvin pouncing on it.
So Fitzgerald takes over at about the 13-yard line, looking for the end zone. Plenty of time. Throws underneath, and it's intercepted right into the hands of T.J. Holliman. Poor pass by Fitzgerald, who floated it to the end zone.
Took his eyes. You know, we saw Fitzgerald earlier as he pulls his shirt up again. This guy, it seems like he might be struggling physically. He's got his hand up in the air. He's not really looking at his coach. But that one, eyes on it the whole way. That's a linebacker's dream, is as you start dropping back, you see that quarterback's eyes tracking somebody, you start tracking them yourself. And that was a terrific job by Holliman. But I'm not so sure that this young man's 100%. The way he's carrying his body just doesn't look completely healthy to me.
Ed, if they get a touchdown there, they might put this game away. As it is, South Carolina has new life starting from its own 13. Turner for only about 6 yards, taken down by Richie Brown, the middle linebacker.
And the medical staff not checking in with Fitzgerald now. It was him who had asked, I think, to see the trainer as we were watching earlier during the last break. But that one, just a young quarterback mistake. Tracked the receiver the whole way. We saw him earlier do a nice job. Read to the left. He came back quickly to the crossing route to Ross for the touchdown. That time was tracking his guy the whole way.
That was Talley with the last carry. They fake it to him this time. And Orth has it tipped at the line of scrimmage. Nice defense by Traver Jung. Third down here, 8 yards to go. South Carolina really needs to sustain something. Orth, who was on target all last week, brought them back in the second half after they trailed 10-0, trying to do it again, trying to get out of trouble, does the smart thing and just chucks it out of bounds.
There was just nothing open in the secondary. I mentioned Peter Sermon, the first-year defensive coordinator under Dan Mullen, hired after Manny Diaz left to take the job at Miami in his hometown. But this secondary has played well. Not much pressure up front, but just nowhere for Perry Orth to go.
Peter Sermon's an impressive guy to talk with, isn't he?
Yes.
He's a linebacker coach at Southern Cal. High floating punt to Ross. Room to run. Reverses his field, looking for a block. Into South Carolina territory. Nice return, 18 yards by Fred Ross. When Chris, nothing could be more frustrating for a defense than to have a play shut down and have it blow up in their face like that.
And by the way, that wasn't a block, Cotter. That was a get in the way. Just if we're defining those.
Close enough. Holloway to the outside. Go to the sideline again. Here's Laura Rutledge. Laura.
Mike, as you guys have noticed, Nick Fitzgerald not feeling 100% down here dealing with the heat, but after he threw that interception, it was like he got a boost of energy. He was running up and down the sidelines, taking responsibility for the interception, firing up his guys on offense and telling them they have to keep it going.
Goes straight up the middle after the fake to Rutledge and takes it down to the 16-yard line. Looked pretty healthy on that one.
Sure did. He's got that ability to accelerate that second, third, and fourth step once he gets going. Is like a running back. He's 6'5", 230 pounds. And other than the interception throw where he tracked the receiver, he seems to have grown as a passer in the last couple of weeks as well.
South Carolina's defense gave up only 93 yards rushing all last week. Fitzgerald already has 115 by himself in this game.
There's your new defensive coordinator, Travaris Robinson at South Carolina. Of course, a whole new staff. The only holdover was offensive line coach Sean Elliott, who took over as interim head coach last year for Steve Spurrier.
Short set, quick pass. Miles makes the catch, breaks the tackle. 2 catches in a row from Miles, gets down to the 3.
Fred Ross and A.J. Jefferson, they're talking about what type of week of practice they had. They stepped out right there. Good call by the officials. But the term they kept using is we got the memo. I have not seen a guy from Mississippi State not finish a play, not go all the way to the end with full effort. It's pretty impressive effort so far.
Harris Williams is the tailback. They fake it to him. Pass into the end zone, underthrown, and still caught for a touchdown. Jordan Thomas, a backup tight end, showing great hands. He took it away from DJ Smith.
Oh. From that angle, does not look like the ball hits the ground. But that ball, DJ Smith, for all the world, DJ Smith thought he had an interception.
And all Thomas did was say, give me that.
Well, Thomas, that's a much bigger guy. 6'5", almost 300 pounds against a 5'11", 195 man. Jump ball, guess which one got it?
Welcome back to Starkville, where Mississippi State has taken a 21-0 lead. The first career catch for Jordan Thomas came out of junior college, where he obviously enjoyed 3 squares a day, 295 pounds.
He had a 100-pound advantage and 6 inches.
And to answer your question, who got it? The big guy.
Yeah. It couldn't have defended it better. Just had a 300-pounder on his back.
A.J. Turner from the 3. Avoids the first tackler across the 20, across the 25. Dan Mullen has to be incredibly pleased with the turnaround and effort for his ball club. He said the one thing we've always been known for, we play harder than anybody else. We may not have the most talent, but we play harder. They didn't last week. They're probably doing it tonight. Orth looked like a tight end screen.
And the hard part here for South Carolina, you haven't been able to really get anything going, and now you're against the clock. You've got 2 timeouts, 3 minutes it's running. You've got nothing except the inside run to Turner that's gotten some momentum. But, you know, now you got the length of the field to try to score. You're working against the clock.
And you can't call too many deep balls because Orth hasn't had the time.
No. And now Mississippi State with 3 timeouts, they're looking in good position to get the ball back.
Orth, quarterback draw, not his strength.
Orth is the ball carrier.
And he's swallowed up by that Bulldog defense.
And I wouldn't take the timeout if I were Mississippi State. I think this is the right call to keep it for your offense, because you're going to get the ball back. Unless they convert here, you're going to get the ball back with plenty of time and all 3 timeouts. So this is
11 tackles behind the line of scrimmage against South Alabama. Even though they lost tonight, they already have 7.
And
They get upfield.
And Perry Orth is about to get more cowbell.
Doesn't need any.
Whether he wants it or not, Will Ferrell somewhere is waking up ringing his cowbell.
Orth trying to keep this drive alive. One-handed catch by Terry Goodger. Was he out of bounds?
They were saying he was out.
He just reached up with one arm and casually brought it into his side. Who needs the other hand?
Oh, that toe is barely out of bounds.
Yeah,
barely.
From that angle, you get a better look.
Yeah, the field judge to that side, excellent mechanics. You could see him leaning in and watching the foot. But what a terrible, terrible start for South Carolina tonight.
Nice job by the officiating crew to be all over that. Kelly will punt.
And this is against the defense that gave up 285 passing yards last week to South Alabama.
Yes.
Oh, by the way.
Ross. He is spectacular. Mississippi State defense really stood up tonight. It made big plays, haven't given up much at all. Fitzgerald with plenty of time over the middle and dropped. Right in the hands of Gabe Miles. That's at least the second one he's dropped in this ballgame. Boy, oh boy.
Yeah. The ball was put on a little behind him. He's thinking about the open space, though. Wondering what's behind him, wondering what he's going to get. And now, if I'm South Carolina, if I'm Will Muschamp, I would be thinking, because the clock just stopped, that maybe we can get them to punt, see if we can get something going, go for a punt block, at least make them earn it.
Exactly. They need something. Quick throw to the outside to Gray, and for the third or fourth time tonight, he makes the first man miss, refuses to go down, fights for extra yardage. It results in a first down, and there goes that plan.
And this is the second or third time tonight we've seen a defensive back from South Carolina drop their head before the tackle.
Fitzgerald over the middle, complete. Gray on his feet, out of bounds inside the 30, and still plenty of time left, 23 seconds.
And think of how big that missed tackle is. Mississippi State is punting the ball if that tackle is made, and Will Muschamp, who was a scrappy walk-on safety at Georgia. And I noticed it on film against Vanderbilt. This secondary for South Carolina has a tendency to drop their head and launch to make tackles. It's completely unsafe, and it's horrible technique. You cannot make a tackle on your face.
I'll guarantee you another thing. You duck your head and close your eyes.
Oh, your
and
body
then you
is
come
going
up
to
with
go.
Nothing.
Well, again, the safety element aside, it's just bad technique.
Fitzgerald tries to keep it. Only gets back to the line of scrimmage. They'll have to stop the clock again. Good play by Marquavius Lewis, who had 7 tackles a week ago, tied for #1 on the club. This is the first time we've called his name tonight.
And you're with 18 seconds left. You don't have a ton of time to be pushing the ball down towards the end zone. So, you get 7, 8 more yards, it could be his time.
Fitzgerald forced out of the pocket. Gets as much as he can, out of bounds near the 25 with 10 seconds left. Still enough time for another play. Darius English was putting the pressure on for the Gamecocks.
I think this one you throw a fade, you throw something into the end zone. You can't quite, you're in field goal range. You have the timeout. I just worry you're going to burn too much time. If it's this side of the first down marker and you get tackled, you could really have to rush.
The receiver has to know his first job is to call timeout. Floated for the end zone. Should be a flag on that one, and there is for interference.
Pass
They
interference.
probably did.
Defense, number 16. 15-yard penalty from the previous spot. Automatic first down.
The problem is now with 4 seconds, though, do you want to risk an offensive play or do you want to kick it?
It's Rashad Fenton who was called for pass interference.
Well, it's better than giving up a touchdown because he was beat. So
that's for sure.
Yeah. And
so you may get away with nothing.
Yeah. So not a bad penalty. I mean, it made the field goal attempt closer, but as we know from last week, that's not necessarily a good thing for Mississippi State.
Graves would love to have this one. He's very reliable a year ago, 15 out of 18. This one from 27 yards. A morale booster and a confidence booster for sure. He's going to be a happier guy on social media this week. At the half, it's 24-0 Mississippi State. Now we send you to Chris Cotter for the Outback Steakhouse halftime report. 24-0 Mississippi State on top of South Carolina at the half. It was a surprise to us. We thought there would be a close ball game with South Carolina coming in 1-0, Mississippi State 0-1. Bulldogs had other ideas, didn't they?
It was a tough week of practice for the Bulldogs. Everybody we talked to, including Dan Mullen, talked about this is a week we're going to get our attitudes right, and they went to work. And one thing that coming into the game we didn't know was who was going to play quarterback. And Nick Fitzgerald came in, and he played really well in the first half.
Before the second half kick, let's check in with Laura Rutledge. Laura.
Mike, South Carolina will make a change at quarterback. They told us they might do this to change up the pace. So Kerry Orth out, Brandon McElwain in to start the second half. Will Muschamp said they have to tackle better, especially on the quarterback, and he said they're getting whipped up front. On the Mississippi State side of things, I'm told it was the most intense halftime that Dan Mullen has ever had in his tenure here. Everybody's saying that they were trying to keep up the energy and make sure they don't start the second half flat like they did last week. They had a lot of massage time, some snacks, some hydration in the rain delay, and they made sure to keep everybody's energy up with some music. So we didn't hear it in practice this week, but we heard it in halftime in this game.
And Laura, they were up 17-0 at the half last week, and they let it get away. Dan Mullen is trying to make sure they understand it better not get away this time.
Dan Mullen had that intensity there. Did he keep it for the entire hour and 15? Was he in there with that finger point? I mean, that's pretty good. I would assume more fans will filter back in once they realize that the weather delay has passed.
And it was, what it amounted to was a lightning delay. I didn't see any rain whatsoever. The field is fine. We just kept getting lightning strikes within 8 miles, and the clock would reset at a half an hour.
My back feels like it's been raining on it all night.
That's perspiration. Gray takes it 5 yards deep in the end zone, and they will start from the 25-yard line.
Well, for Mississippi State, they have to be awfully happy the start that Nick Fitzgerald has gotten off to. He had the one interception where he let his eyes take the defender to the ball, but other than that, he's been terrific in the running game. He has a great second, third, fourth step once he gets going and sees the hole, and he has been accurate. And one thing we heard about him was how hard he throws it, and you want to see guys start to take something off the ball. That crossing route he threw to Fred Ross for the touchdown, he took something off of it.
Holloway trying to get out to the outside. There's nothing there for him. Kelsey Griffin chased him down, big number 94.
Now by Kelsey Griffin. A 3-yard loss.
If you go back to the opening game, Fitzgerald started, rushed 2 times for 11 yards. That pass tipped and almost intercepted.
Fitzgerald has intended for Gray.
Yes, it was intercepted. That's T.J. Holloman. Let's see what the flag is in the middle of the line of scrimmage. If this is against Mississippi State, what a huge turnover. Fitzgerald really tried to force this ball in.
Personal foul. Defense, number 94. Illegal hands to the face.
Wow.
15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
And Will Muschamp says, what else can go wrong?
Yeah, that's Kelsey Griffin, the guy who just made the tackle for loss. There's Griffin there.
The penalty results in a first down, Bulldogs.
Oh, you got to pull it back. It's so hard when you get it in there and you're getting that push. Sometimes you don't even know if it's in the face mask or on the pads. But what a huge penalty. Wipes out the interception by Holloman. A forced ball by Fitzgerald. He catches a break.
Holloway with a keep, and Holloman got up. Looked like he was disappointed. That's why I think he didn't hold on to it when he went to the ground. Stallworth made that tackle.
If this turns into a touchdown for Mississippi State, think about the wind out of your sails if you're South Carolina. Thought you had a turnover in this first drive, and then
there's very little wind in those sails right now.
Yeah. Well, an interception would have given them at least a breath.
Yes. Griffin comes out on a 3rd and call it 4.
This is where the quarterback run comes into play, this down and distance. You have an empty backfield. No one except the quarterback.
South Carolina shows blitz.
5 blockers, 5 men at the line of scrimmage, so it'd be an even match if you decide to run at the quarterback.
They drop, quarterback draw. Fitzgerald needed to reach the 48-yard line. Didn't get there. 47, rather. Ulrich Jones was in on that stop. So South Carolina will force a punt on the opening series of the second half after that rain delay.
Little sigh of relief for Will Muschamp that after the penalty wiped out the interception, Mississippi State wasn't able to make more of it.
Rashad Fenton is all the way back to the 10-yard line. Will Muschamp has to be happy about that. It's a fake. And Cook is not going to make it. And South Carolina will take over on downs. Ulrich Jones makes another tackle.
I don't mind the call here by Mississippi State to go for this. It was 4th and short. You're near midfield. You've got a nice lead. But you can see Dan Mullen talking to one of the guys on the punt team there. It didn't look like everyone got the memo that this was a fake. And South Carolina left all of their defensive linemen in the game. So they were ready for a fake. I'm not so sure Mississippi State shouldn't have called this off.
Called a timeout?
Yeah, once they saw that defensive line, I like the idea. But when you've got the wrong defense, you usually call that off. You don't want to run the ball in that situation.
McElwain and the new quarterback. Yep, snap down around his knees. Throws on the run, complete down to the 30 to Guger. And Guger appears to have enough for another first down.
And this is the second time McElwain has had to fight for the snap. This is Alan Knott, who's in there at center. Remember, Corey Helms had to slide over to guard because of the injury to Donnell Stanley.
Pretty good hands, huh?
And a good throw while he was backpedaling to Guger. And a note, I don't think that we've seen Deebo Samuel. Remember, he got hurt in the first half. I don't think that we've seen him here in the second half.
I think he came in on a punt return. I have not seen him from scrimmage. McElwain dives inside the 26-yard line. That'll be enough for a first down. Jeffrey Simmons, the highly touted defensive lineman, the freshman, was in on the stop.
And you can see the type of offense that Will Muschamp and Kurt Roper, Brian McClendon, who's the co-offense coordinator and wide receivers coach, that they want to run. They want a quarterback who can run it and throw it. And you can see why they're giving McElwain a chance here in the second half. Came in during spring, was eligible to compete in the spring. That's a huge benefit for a quarterback.
McElwain throwing against the grain, incomplete. I misspoke. That was second down. So now it's going to be a 3rd and 8. It's a tough throw for a right-handed quarterback.
You know, if you do the math, if you're South Carolina, a field goal fits because it's 24 points, but you got to be thinking you need something. You need some momentum. I'm not sure you want to be trotting out Elliott Fry if you're not able to pick up the first down.
Complete to the 18, about a yard shy of a first down. Good throw. Now, what decision do they make on 4th and about a yard?
You got to go for it. Just 3 points. Again, it's in the math, but there's going to be so many possessions back and forth. You've got to be thinking about 7s when you're down 24, not 3s.
You make sure McElwain has it in his hands?
I think so.
Quarterback keeper. He's got the first down to the 15.
McElwain, the ball carrier.
It is so hard if you have a quarterback who is good, not just proficient, but explosive in the run game. And we've seen that with Fitzgerald for Mississippi State tonight. And that's what Will Muschamp, a defensive-minded coach, getting his second shot at being a head coach. That's what he wants. He wants this type of athlete at quarterback.
McElwain has Turner beside him. Quarterback draw. McElwain does the smart thing, doesn't take a shot, gets out of bounds. Going back to that 4th down play, that's why it's so difficult to stop a running quarterback. We knew that's what they were going to do. They knew that's what they were going to do, and they couldn't stop it anyway.
And the new wrinkle that has been happening all over football, it's even up to the NFL now. Now you have quarterback runs with a pass built into it as well. So even your secondary has to stay so true to the pass game when the quarterback's running it because of the new wrinkle that's everyone's doing where there's a run-pass option on many of the plays.
McElwain out of Newtown, Pennsylvania. Through his hands.
Well,
That's a great reaction.
He may get intentional grounding.
He may not have been outside of the tackle.
Peter Sermon wants, or excuse me, that's Dan Mullen. The referee just said he was out of the tackle box. Tackle box is right there.
Yeah, no way.
No, that is absolutely grounding, which would make this 4th down, not 3rd down. And of course, we saw Central Michigan was the beneficiary after an intentional grounding of an additional play they shouldn't have gotten today. And Dan Mullen, who should have gotten a 4th down here out of a penalty, now defending 3rd instead.
It's like they just ignored that call. McElwain again with all day to throw. Chase from behind, drops it off, and that's going to be a touchdown for A.J. Turner. So that penalty, or lack of it, becomes huge.
Let me correct myself. It still would have been 3rd down because the 2nd down would have been the penalty. Loss of down would have been the 3rd, but then you would have gotten the yardage. And who knows if that's a touchdown if it's 3rd and 18 instead of 3rd and 17 instead of 3rd and 12.
No matter what the down, it's a huge call if it's made, and obviously it was intentional grounding and they just missed it.
And that was the 3rd snap we've seen McElwain mishandle. That one looked like it was clean. Maybe he took his eye off it.
Point after by Elliott Fry makes it a 24-7 game, an 80-yard drive headed by Brandon McElwain. Starting the second half, trying to give him a spark on offense, and he has done it. Welcome back to Starkville, Mississippi. It is 24-7. See all the cowbells. There's a rule in the SEC, no artificial noisemakers. I don't think they believe they could enforce it, so they must have said these are not artificial.
Well, they have the Mississippi State cowbell exception to that rule. We talked to the officials before the game and said, hey, it's still illegal, right? And they said, yeah, but we just, that's not our deal. That's not our job.
And there would be a revolt if they tried to enforce it. Donald Gray on the return, end of the 3rd quarter. And it will be Mississippi State football at their own 27-yard line when we return. We have 15 minutes of football still to come from Starkville, Mississippi. They are having a ball here tonight, leading 24-7. Laura Rutledge, how about the 4th quarter last week? Not so good.
That's right, Mike. It was not kind to Dan Mullen, not to mention the score, but he was on the sideline talking to the O-line, and he whipped around, and you can see these metal shields they have over the benches. It's supposed to protect against heat. Guys, he sliced his head on one of those metal shields. You can see the padding is there now to protect against that. The athletic trainer said, hey, we need to get you out of here. He said, no way, I'm staying out here. I'm going to coach the rest of this game. They stapled 6 staples in his head on the sideline, guys. He continued to coach the game. By the way, he's getting those staples out tonight after this game.
And they literally are staples. We could see them in the meeting we had. But that's not the most courageous thing he's done. When he was the offensive coordinator at Florida, he had an emergency appendectomy, and the next morning shows up at the stadium for the game.
Now, what was the word you used? It sounds a little dumb to me. But Urban Meyer called him when he was in the hospital, and Dan Mullen was the head play caller, and they were playing Auburn. And he had just had an emergency appendectomy. And Urban Meyer said, hey, man, you got to get to the stadium. You're the only one who can call the plays. They ended up losing to Auburn in a field goal at the end.
But he was there.
He had a big gash on his head. It was bleeding last week. And they, on the sideline, got a medical stapler and put 6 staples in his head.
Fitzgerald looking toward the sideline on 2nd and 4. Shumpert, the big back.
What was interesting,
They're short of
yeah,
first
they're
down.
just going to be short. Dan Mullen, when he hit his head on the metal, and he hit it hard enough, obviously, to cut a gash in his head. Well, the medical staff started administering a concussion protocol to make sure he was okay, like they would with a player. And they said, "Do you know where you are?" And he said, "Yes, and we're playing terribly. Stitch it up and let me get back to coaching."
And I'm bleeding like a sieve, by the way. That option look again will get a couple of yards.
At this point, if you are Mississippi State, we saw them go lightning fast a couple of times early in the game. I'm not so sure they're not just going to keep letting that 40-second clock
absolutely
continue to burn away. Although, tempo does help if it's part of what you do. You may not go slow the rest of the game, but 20, 30 seconds off between plays right now would be pretty sweet.
Got a nice, comfortable lead. Fitzgerald, the pass rushers didn't know he still had it. One guy went by him, somebody else turned their back and looked the other way, and Fitzgerald is still there.
Well, they had
Jamarcus King got lost. Watch this, he's number 7.
Handoff, a fake reverse. There's King going for the reverse, and uh-oh. Do you think he yelled ta-da when he pulled the ball up?
I hope so. That's beautiful play action there, and another first down for the Bulldogs. To the end zone and a little contact back at the 10-yard line, so the pass well overthrown.
A little surprised for Mississippi State how much they're throwing it here. I watched their game against South Alabama, and it looked like Dan Mullen, who is his own play caller, was relying. They were up 7 against South Alabama, and Damian Williams kept throwing and throwing. I was watching it, wondering why do they keep doing this, and they're, I think, in the same position here. The only enemy you have right now is the clock. This 10:56 is your only enemy. And so a little surprised how much they're letting Fitzgerald throw it.
Little swing in the flat. Inside the 10. Fitzgerald has gone over the 320 mark in total offense. I mean, we knew he had the size. I think the thing was surprising how fast he looked.
Yeah, he really, when he takes those, it's that first, second step to kind of read it. That second, third, fourth step is pretty impressive.
They need to reach the 9 for a first down. Holloway is back in as his running back. Taking their sweet time right now. Fitzgerald. Would be about 2 yards shy. I think you might want 3 points here, don't you?
Yes, and Fitzgerald, I think you do, because you go up 20. But Fitzgerald got up really slow after that hit. As he spun back around, Darius English finished this off. Watch as he goes to cut this up. And unfortunately, he got hit by both English and Uric Jones as he spun around, and there's his coach following him over there. I hope he's okay.
This will be from 28 yards for Graves, who's now 2 for 2. Trying to take some of the sting out of last week. Now 4 for 6 on the season.
If you don't know, Dan Skipper is a professional field goal blocker, a 6'10" offensive lineman for Arkansas. I think that's his 7th or 8th blocked kick in his career. He's pretty amazing.
4th, they've got to go for it. That pass high, but caught at the sideline. That'll be a first down. Nice throw to Edwards.
Edwards has just terrific hands. You mentioned the freshman had over 100 yards receiving last week. He had the most receiving yards of any freshman in the country. And he really can go up and snatch it. A young man who injured his knee his senior year in high school, was not quite 100% when he enrolled early.
He can stretch. 1st and 15 after the penalty on the left guard, Zach Bailey. Pressure. And McElwain avoids a disaster. There's another flag down back of the 36-yard line.
I got holding on 40.
You heard it.
You want it? You want to decline it?
Holding on Jacob August, the tight end.
Holding. Offense, number 40. That penalty is declined. Second down.
And August.
Oh, double whammy. Looks like he may have hurt himself as well. Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a hold. And let's hope that August is okay. What a bummer.
Four-man rush. McElwain over the middle, again intended for Hurst. There's a flag down beyond Hurst.
They're going to get Gary Green, who was in the coverage there. He runs into A.J. Turner. He had really good coverage. He just couldn't see that the ball was coming, never got his eyes around.
Pass interference. Defense, number 4. 15-yard penalty. Automatic first down.
Made the All-SEC freshman team a year ago. Oh, that's not pass interference.
Well, you can't run through the guy. He's running. He has to.
Well,
he's never making a play on the ball. In the college, there is no. You don't have to turn around and play it, but you do have to at least make attempt to the ball. And there was never an attempt by Gary Green there. That looked like an obvious intent to disrupt the wide receiver. So I think that was the right call.
You can't cut off a guy's route either. And that's one of the things he did on that play. McElwain takes the hit.
McElwain, the ball carrier.
Well, this is
got a good block from Bailey to get a couple extra yards.
When I first got to the NFL, you heard a lot of people say, you don't want to take those extra hits. When you're going down, just go down. Well, in the SEC, it's the same. McElwain's going to learn that extra half a yard he just got by diving head first is not necessarily the smartest way to extend your career.
Turner in the backfield with Hurst at tight end. McElwain throwing for the corner, incomplete. That was intended for Crosby, one of the tight ends. Covered by Bryant and Graham.
As much as Mississippi State has dominated this game, if South Carolina sticks one in here, onside kick, they could at least make it interesting. And then if lightning strikes again, we get another hour-long delay. Who knows?
And we'll never get home. McElwain on the keeper. Inside the 5 to about the 4.
Well, let's see if
DeAndre Ward made the stop.
Well, you've got to go for it here on 4th down. You're down 20, so 3 does nothing. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to take too much time. I mean, I know you want to get the right play, but if you're trying to win, you're down 3 scores. You can't burn too much of this clock. What do you think, Mike? McElwain run?
McElwain run left. Starts left, throws, had a man wide open and got him. It's a touchdown to Crosby. Boy, he almost threw it too far. Crosby just got it on his
the
fingertips.
tip. I can see the guy has a lively arm. The tip of his ball tends to come up, which makes it overshoot. And this ball, you're right, looked like it was headed for the stands. Ooh, got tipped. Ball got tipped there at the end of the line of scrimmage by Mississippi State.
Maybe that's why.
Yeah.
83 yards and 349.
And now we get to see an onside kick. Those are exciting.
Timeout on the field. Still 2:37 to go. Not over yet from Starkville. Most of the top 25 games are over. Alabama on a little cruise control against Western Kentucky. Georgia had to struggle mightily to beat Nicholls, no longer Nicholls State. Tennessee had to come from behind. And wide open is Miles. I see him hold on to one.
And it'll be interesting to see what Mississippi State does here, because they should be able to run out the clock by taking a slow knee on each play. And, you know, I've been talking about them throwing the ball when you expect them to run. That's something I've noticed with Dan Mullen, and that was a good time to do it. They had a short throw, and then they had a second read. And Fitzgerald, once again, instead of lofting it, he shot it in there, and he's having his quarterback look at that clock. They're very close to being able to not have to actually run plays to get out of here.
They'll give it to Ashton Shumpert. He pounds straight ahead near the 10-yard line.
Yeah, the only thing that can hurt you now is a turnover that gets returned for a touchdown, right? Because then they would be able to do an onside kick and potentially win the game. So you want to do the safest thing possible. Earlier, you saw the quarterback running between the tackles. You think, well, gosh, he's taking a lot of punishment, but there's no ball handling. There's really small risk of a turnover there. So as much as you hate your quarterback to kind of have to run between the tackles, sometimes it is the safest thing. And now I wouldn't want to be handing this off and having guys taking hits. If anything, run wide and then just slide. You're close to being able to get out of here without a first down.
Shumpert again, and I think the reason they didn't take a knee is that South Carolina's got a timeout left. If they choose to use that, then you're going to have to run 2 more plays.
Well, and the math, I have a chart that tells me the math. It was within 5 or 10 seconds of whether they'd be able to run it out. And so when you run the ball, that can take a little more time off the clock than just taking the knee. So I don't think this is a mistake for Mississippi State to be running the ball, but it certainly does open you up to the only thing that can change this game in a hurry, which is a fumble return for a touchdown.
They'll only have to snap it one more time. And a grinding week of practice after that opening loss really showed these young kids what it takes to win a game in the SEC, and they responded, didn't they? Tough trip for Will Muschamp and company after a big victory a week ago on the road at Vanderbilt.